Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Joe here with the Wood and Iron Cookie. Thank you for all the new subscribers that I got yesterday, and I'm trying to follow back. It doesn't show me every time for some reason when somebody follows me or subscribes to me on here, but if you do subscribe to me, leave me a comment so I can check out your page and subscribe back to you. And today I've got this, it's a Griswold my grandma had. It was a chicken fryer is what she used it for. And today I'm gonna bake some bread in it. And we're starting off outside. It's raining again today, and we're gonna do it in the house in the oven. But as of right now, I'm out here doing some char cloth. I've already done one batch, and I'm gonna spin you around and show you what we're doing real quick. So I've got this tobacco tin. I got a couple of these, and I just burned it off, and I cut up some old white cotton t-shirts. And you want to use cotton or denim, but I burned this tin and got the stickers off and the stuff out, and poked a little hole in it, put some patches in there, and it's smoking off. I've already done one batch, and I'm gonna let that go before I start my bread. But I got this, I'm gonna start out here. Here's my skillet that I was talking about. And I remember first time I'd used this, it's basically two skillets with a lip on it, and I just greased it a few minutes ago, but you can see the lip. And what it does is it just locks in there and she shuts down. And the first time I used this, I cooked a roast in it. And like I said, my grandma used it to cook chicken in. I'm pretty sure the way my mom talked, that's all she used it for. And my mom acted like I ruined it, but the only thing I cook in it now is I bake bread in it. So today, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna bake a loaf of bread in the oven, and I have a blue enamel pot. I don't know if I'm gonna show much of that, but I'm gonna make a pork stew in there and cook it up. But I'm gonna take this in the house, and I'm gonna get my char cloth off the fire here in a minute when that's done smoking. And then I'm gonna go in and get my yeast going and show you guys some of that. But like I said, it's raining again here today. It don't feel bad out. It's a little wet, and I think it's around in the 40s right now, but it's not bad out. But I'll see you guys here shortly. All right, so I'm gonna use my KitchenAid blender. I'm getting ready to get my yeast going so it can rise. And what I do is, it's about 3.5-4 cups of flour. Let your butter set out at room temp so it'll mash up a little better. I'll do 2 tablespoons of yeast, about a tablespoon of sugar, and then I'm gonna do about 1.5 cups of water in that Pyrex. And you want your water around 110 degrees. You don't want it too hot and you don't want it too cool, or your yeast won't work. But I'm going to get my yeast in there and let it start to rise, and then get the flour going and everything. And I'll show you what the yeast looks like when it's risen, and everything getting ready to get mixed up. So we'll do that right now. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. And what I've done here is I took about 3 tablespoons of that butter and put in my flour, and took a fork and mashed it up. I added a teaspoon of salt, and our yeast has risen. So again, that was 2 tablespoons of yeast, a tablespoon of sugar, and then activate your yeast. And all I'm going to do is dump this in, right in there. I'm going to drop this head down, lock it, and we're just going to turn that on low. And I'm going to let that go until it's thickened up. You may have to add a little water. You may have to add a little flour. If I'll show you the consistency of it whenever it gets there. It looks like we're definitely gonna have to add a little water. And again, you'll want to add a little bit of warm water. I have my oven turned on so that I've got a bowl that I'm gonna grease, and it ain't gonna take much water. I may have put a little too much on. We're looking good. So I'm just gonna let that mix up. I have my oven on, and I have a pre-greased, well, I haven't greased it yet, but I'm gonna grease this pan, and what I'm gonna do is put my bread in there when it's balled up and done, and cover it up, put it on my oven right here to where it'll be warm. I got my oven on right now, and I'm gonna let that rise because it's a little cool in my house. I live in an old log cabin, and see, that's looking good. And I'm gonna let that mix up for about 5 minutes, just like that. I may turn it up one notch. And man, if y'all don't have one of these KitchenAids, they make making bread and doing anything really just amazing. I'll put when that's kneaded up good, I'll have to push it down a little bit. I'm gonna turn it down. I'll put it in my grease pan, cover it, and stick it on the stove there where I was showing you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to add a little flour. And cover it and let it rise for about 45 minutes. I'm gonna grab a cup of flour and add a little flour to that. Alright, so I went and grabbed a little flour. I'm just gonna add just a little. Just a little at a time. And I may have to rake it off of that, you know, and let it go, but you get the idea. I'll bring you back whenever it's where I want it at. Alright, so that's been going almost, I don't know, good 5 minutes. That's about where I want it. You can kind of see that. And I'm going to transfer it into that grease pan and cover it and set it on top of my oven, or stove I should say, with the oven on. Again, my house is about 60 degrees inside right now, so it needs to be a little warmer for me to get it to rise right. Okay, so I've got a greased pan, put a little flour on my hands and put my dough ball in there and kind of balled it up, tucked from the top under, put it in there, and I'm gonna get a clean towel and put over the top of it and just set it right here on my oven, or top of my stove, because it's warm right here. And I'm gonna let that rise for about 45 minutes, and then I'm gonna tuck it, or push it down, beat it down, tuck it again from the top under, fold it, and do that a few times, cover it again, and let it sit for about another 45 minutes. And then we're going to transfer it into our pot, or it's kind of like a Dutch oven, I guess. And then I'm going to let it rise in that for a few minutes. So I'm going to let it rise 3 times. Ava wanted to say hi. She came out here with me. So while our bread is rising, I took this char cloth off earlier, and it's cooled down now. I put a nickel over the hole to let it dry, and I'm gonna open this up and transfer it into here. I already have some in there, and all those are is pipe tobacco tins, and I just put a nail hole in it, burnt it out, because it has like a rubber seal in it, and then of course it has the stickers and everything. And I burned it right there in the coals, and I'll show you what we're working with. All right, so here we have our charred cloth, And again, that's all that is a 100% cotton white t-shirt. And I've tried it earlier. Here's the first batch I made earlier today. And all I'm gonna do is transfer this into this tin here. And that'll last me quite a while, that full tin right there. So, I just figured I'd show you that. I've been working on that a little bit today. And again, you want to burn them off. You can kind of see that ring I was talking about in there. And actually my friend Mike Bruner, he's the one that actually mentioned that to me, so I'm glad he said something about it so I could burn it out before I put that in there, because I'm not sure if it would have done anything. But I actually tried a piece of this out earlier and it worked really well. So this is my first time making char cloth. So there's that. I just figured I'd share that. And we're gonna wait for our bread to rise. Hey everybody. So I've got my bread. It's risen, and I'm gonna show it to you. All I'm gonna do is beat it down. I'm only gonna let it rise this one time in this grease pan, and I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it into that Griswold Dutch oven like skillet that I was showing you, because with my oven on, it's actually doing really well. Normally I'd let it go 3 times. It gets more air bubbles in it, air pockets, but I'm just going to do it twice this time. And while we're at it, I'm making a pork stew, and I'll show you that too. We're going to do a little bit of everything. I'm doing multiple things today while I'm doing bread and it's raining. So I'm actually, while I got the oven on with the bread rising, I've got a Dutch oven in the oven that I had rust on. Had been sitting for probably 15-20 years, and I'm seasoning it right now, and I've got it going. So I'm doing a little bit of everything, but I'll show you this bread and then what we're doing with the pork stew. All right, so it's been about 45 minutes, and I peeked at this about 20 minutes ago. I haven't looked at it yet, so let's see what she looks like. Oh yeah. So that's done really well. And what I'm gonna do is I've got a little flour right here, and I'm just gonna take and kind of put it in my hand. And what you do is, I don't have a tripod, so I'm gonna do this with one hand, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do. But you just beat it down, and you'll see how it goes down. See that? So I'm gonna do that, beat it down, and then I'm gonna tuck it and roll it, and I'll show you the aftermath of that. All right, so I put a little flour in the bottom of my pan here, and I balled it up, punched it down, balled it up, tucked it around and underneath of it. And what I'm going to do now is put the lid on it, and I'm just going to let that sit, I don't know, for probably about another, I'd say 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes in that, and let it rise. And while that's going, I'm going to start my stew here. And I don't know, I think I've mentioned I do a lot of canning. So what I have here is pork. It's pork butt that I've canned, and I'm gonna use that, which is already cooked. And I have pork broth, 2 quarts of that, and some carrots, and onion, potatoes, and celery. And what we're gonna do is put that in the stock pot, get it going, and I'll show you that as we're going too. But that'll be just pretty simple stuff. You're just boiling it up. All right, so I just checked this and we're ready. I'll let you guys see it. As you can see, it's gotten pretty good size. And what I'm gonna do is make some cuts in it, and some crosses and stuff. That way it can open up a little and cook. And I'll show you that here in a sec. All right, so I just got a knife, and I'm not gonna cut real deep, but I'm just gonna slice down the middle of this, about there. And then I'm just gonna do a couple little cuts. Okay, and that ain't gonna do much, but that'll open up in the middle. And now what I'm gonna do is just put the lid on it. My oven is at 450 degrees, and I'm gonna set it in there and check it in about 20 minutes. All right, I figured I'd show you this real quick. I've got it going while the bread's in the oven. This is our pork stew I'm working on. I'm just gonna let it cook down. The pork's already cooked. So it's a quart of pork butt I canned, and 2 quarts of pork broth that I made off the bones of the pork butt, and potatoes, carrots, onions, celery, a little salt and pepper. And I'm just gonna let that cook down. That wasn't gonna be part of the video today, but I figured I'd go ahead and show it. So about 25 minutes in, I took the lid off, and I'm gonna put it back in for about another 15 minutes. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes-ish, and our bread's done. And you can see how that looks really good. I'm gonna let it cool in this skillet for a minute, and then I'm gonna transfer it over here. I put a cooling rack over my sink, that way it gets more airflow, but I'm gonna let it cool on that for a second. And then I'm gonna flip it over and put it in on the cooling rack and let it cool down while our pork stew's cooking. And I'm gonna thicken that up here in a minute, and I'll show you that. All right, so here's the bottom. It's got a little flour on it, but it'll taste good. Oh, and there she is. And you can see it's pretty good size. So yeah, I'm gonna let that cool down, and we'll cut her open here shortly. But it smells delicious in here. I'll just cut that in half, and I'm going to let it cool a little more, but I'm gonna cut me a piece and have me a bowl of pork stew. But it's nice and soft. As you can tell, it's real fluffy. It's still cooling a little bit, but I like it warm. All right, and there we have it. Some pork stew. I could have thickened it up a little more, but, and then our bread. So, turned out pretty good. Well, everybody, that concludes today's video. It's a little longer than what I planned on it being. I really didn't want to do that long of one, but we did 3 different things. You know, we did the char cloth pork stew and our bread. So, you know, this is a good video. I hope everybody likes it. If you do, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share for me if you will. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks, everybody.